Thank you for joining to this ADC 2025. In this design talk that is called Design in the AI Era, 10 times faster and smarter. It's a pleasure for me for being here to talk a little bit about how the AI impact and the design industry, and it's time to talk more about this exciting topic that is evolving as a trend in our time. I will make a short introduction about myself to keep all the things on rules. My name is Fernando Martir, design manager here in Aplaudo. And it's a pleasure to be here to share some thoughts about this topic. Before getting started into this talk, I really would like to make emphasis about the design impact throughout the entire product cycle. Because when we talk about design, some people tend to think that design is only the process of making the screen looks good, but the reality is not like that. The reality is that the design is an entire process that's involved and encompass many other sub-process, like the research, like the execution, and the final deliverables. And we are going to talk a little bit about this and how the AI could impact positive in these stages. Before to talk about the topic, I really would like to tell you a short story. This story comes from one of the bestsellers in the history that is called 7 Habits of the High-Performance People. The talk is called The Axe and the Woodcutter. And allow me to read a little bit about this story. The story said like that. Once upon a time, there was a woodcutter who for many years boasted for being the forest and the best tree cutter in the forest. Every morning, he would out with his old axe and return with a huge pile of logs. But as time went on, his performance dropped. Other youngest woodcutter with more modern axes easily surpassed him. The old woodcutter grew frustrated, saying, "The forest is getting harder every time." He complained, but its reality was that his axe was worn out and dull. One day, one of the youngest woodcutter approached to him and said, "Master, if you don't sharpen your axes, it doesn't matter how hard you hit. It is not about your strength, it's about your tools." The old woodcutter refused that, believing that his experience was enough for doing that. In the end of the story, you know why it happened, right? The older woodcutter prospered while he was stuck with his old tools and methods. Following understanding both tools and knowledge need to be sharpened over the time. This is a good story for a start this talk because it's a good example of what's happening right now in the industry. Many of us could be these woodcutter that tend to think that the expertise and the time that we can spend in the industry, it is enough to continue these constantly changes environments, but the reality is not like that. Part of my job is understand how can improve the process within my teams. And in this AI era, this is not exception. It is a big challenge because the AI have been here for to stay. And when we think that AI is here and could be influenced in positive manners in our way of working, and many questions could arise in that process. But one of the most important questions that I was wondering is like that. As a manager, how we can use how we can scale our creativity with AI without sacrificing the quality and the human centricity that define our work. Because let's be honest, as a designer, one part that really identifies us is that human centricity. How we can take advantage of the AI in this new era and to think that the AI is going to improve us as a professional. Because the AI arrived an announcement, and many of us was caught by surprise. And maybe the most important part here as a professional, it is not how we can or what's had to do with that, with AI. The right question is how we can take advantage of the AI for be better professional in my job. I really would like to start to talk a little bit my talk based on this scope, because AI is here to better us a better professional, not only in a simple and a unique manner, but this AI is here to become us a better professional in all edges and all angles. And my talk is going to be structured into big areas. The first area is to understand the tools that the AI is give us for to be better professional, and the second one is the competencies that is going to need necessary for moving forward in this constantly changing environment. This is a thing that I really would like to make these similarities with the story, because this phrase really emphasizes what I'm trying to say. That is, it is in this new era, it is not about only learning new tools. It is not only to sharpen our access. It's about unlocking our true potential. It's to uncover what we can do with this potential that we have at our disposal. And this is something that we have to think about this, and what is the right thing or how we can to take advantage of this. I want to talk about this. Okay, before getting started to talk about what tools it is in the market for how to implement, I really would like to make a brief walkthrough about our process. In the presentation, you can see the basic diagram of how we can see our process as a designer with this double diamond methodology. That is like a sort of a baseline that we have as a designer. That basically have two big stages. The first, the problem, that is this stage when we understand what is going to address or what is trying to solve. And the second, what the solution, that is when this eureka moment happens, that when the solution arises and we can to create something new based on the information and the problem itself. For this talk, I really split this methodology into three big parts. The first part is the discovery and research. As mentioned, this is the part when we understand the problem. We really go in deep of what is the problem for to solving. And we can do that through some methodology, like stakeholder interviews, user interviews, competitive analysis, among others. This is the part when we really understand what we have to do. The second one is the design. The design is have mentioned when the recommendation happen, when you throw wireframing, throw screening, final screening, interactive prototyping, you can create some solution based on what we're trying to solve. And the third one and the last one is the handoff and interaction process, or it's called at the same time delivery and validation. This is the part when some of us tend to forget in our process, because this is important part, because it is in this part happen the famous part of to translate our design to the developers. And in many situations, we tend to fail in that because we thought that the design ends in the second stage, that is the design. But the reality is not like that. We have to ensure a smooth and accurate translation of our design from our design to the dev and code. Having this in mind, we have to think what are the problems, what are the challenges that we face in our current methodology or our current process. Here we can see four examples of that problem, because could be more than that. The first one is in the first stage that I mentioned, the research, the discovery, we can tend to have or to spend a lot of time in this time-intensive research, because let's be honest, making research is so exhausting, because you need to spend a lot of time of ideate the script that you would like to address. You tend to spend a lot of time in conducting interviews, And the most important part of analyze all that kind of data that you gather in transforming into a new and valuable insight that could be improve your products. But this process is large and exhausted. The second challenge that we face in this current process is the scaling consistency. What does mean that? When I refer to scaling consistency is when you working on a large complex projects that have many products, or maybe the product is advances in their product cycle, you could face that there are many things that you have to take in consideration before making any changes. And maybe you could spend a lot of time of take care that you are not broke something in your process, because it's so exhausting to be so detailed in what you do. The third one is the blank page problem. This is one of my favorite because I know that everyone here has passed for this challenge. And what does mean the blank page problems is when you open for the first time your Figma file or whatever tool that you use and said, okay, I'm here, how can I start to do that? This is the first idea, how we can do, what I can do. This is something that we can face natural because this is the first stage in our process. This is the blank page problem. And the last one, the bridging the design to dev gap. As I mentioned before, this is one thing that many of us could tend to do, that is forgot the importance to translate accurately what we have done to our developers, teams, or any other designer or stakeholder, because it's so important to convey our ideas and to give the important input for them. This is the problem that we can face, or the challenge that we can have. But we have to be, with this in mind, we have to understand what does this challenge have in common. Because have mentioned it, this challenge is our present as a designer if we don't use AI. And I tend to have three things that I would like to share with you. The three challenges in that is that the four of them are manual processed, repetitive task, and high time consuming task. Because have mentioned, maybe this time needs to spend a lot of these items tend to spend a lot of time to understand how to address it and to give the best result from that. Now, having this in mind, we have to say that the process remains the same, but the demand for speed has skyrocketed. This creates several key challenges, and you can see four of them. Could have a lot of more than that, but I would like to make emphasis in those four of them. The first one is the time-intensive research. If you are a person that dedicates a lot of time of making a huge detailed research, you can pass for this situation. The process of making or of ideating your script, conducting your research, to running or making a lot of good things that have the unique intention to gather information for the user could be an extensive and exhausting process in your design process. And this is one thing that we haven't had for many times, and we need to enhance our time in that because the product gets advanced so faster and rapidly. And we need to understand how we can enhance our process in that part. Especially when we think about research, we don't forget when we think that the research is not only to make or to run or conduct this testing, it's about to understand what the data set us in the process, to analyze the data. And when we think, or when we're talking about analyze data, this is another extensive and exhausted process that we can face in the design process. The second one that I would like to highlight is the scaling consistency. When you work on a large and complex project, you tend to face this problem that you have to take care that you you won't broke anything in what you do, because maybe the product when you in what you are working on is need to have a so detailed approach for be consistency in everything you do, more than if you are working in a product that have a lot of other product that is related between them. The third one is the blank page problem. What does mean with this blank page problems? I know that this is one problem that every designer has passed at least once in our life. This is the moment when we open for first time our Figma file and say, okay, how can I start that? What is the first stage that I had to do for getting started my project? This is the blank page problem. In the last one is the bridging the design to dev gap. As I mentioned before, we as a designer, we tend to forget this important part. We are responsible of translating accurately, smoothly our design to our dev team, because it's so important. And I wouldn't like to limit it only to say that for dev teams. And this is something that we could happen with your product manager, with your stakeholder, with any person that needs to understand what you do and how you do it. But having those things on mind, there is one question that I really would like to ask you, is that what does this challenge have in common? The answer is simple. There are many things, but the most important part is three. There are manual processes, repetitive tasks, and high time consuming tasks. This make that our process extend in time and extend and allocate resource for to do that, and maybe we can to make some improvement with AI. Okay, having that in mind, I really would like to take over what kind of tools or what tool is in the market that we can take advantage to accelerate our process. I split the tools in three big stages: the research, the ideation, and the execution. I will start to talk about the research. When we talk about research, we can find many AI tools in the market, but I really would like make emphasis in two of them: the Adobe Tiles and Mist. Both are extraordinary tools that give you a superpower for analyze data, a tons of data that come from your user testing. Maybe this is something that you can take advantage for two things. First, to understand in a better way some insight that could give you some pattern of how to address new challenge for your products. And another thing is that you can to discover some pattern of what your user said and what your user needs that could be enhancing you are testing or you are researching that manner. The another part is the ideation in the process. And here I will use the example of this popular AI assistant that is in the market, ChatGPT or Gemini. Both are so popular, and I know that there are many others, but I will make emphasis in these two big time changers, because if you use ChatGPT or Gemini properly, you can have this power to ideate good brainstorming on what you would like to do or what would you like to solve. You can delegate certain decision, or would you like to generate some copies to create a more accurate designer, not only use loading in every your design. This is something that is super useful in your design process, because Gemini and ChatGPT could give you this is a manual process that maybe could be tend to spend a lot of time in your day-to-days. This is something that it's so important because the use of ChatGPT or Gemini could have another several uses. Talking about research, you can create your script based on a prompt in those AI assistants and give you at least a primary ideas of how could you address your research based on your script. If you see, you can use ChatGPT, Gemini, or any AI assistant in any manner that could give you this boost in your work. And the the last one, I really would like to dedicate a lot of time with that because this is a really true game changer in industry, the execution. Because when we think about execution, I am talking about this making screening. Yeah, Figma is, if not the only, it is the best tool that we can have as a designer right now. And Figma has launched a lot of new features that really we could take advantage of that for many things. First, for create ideas or ideates some screen in the early stages. Another for to organize and document our files. And there are many other things that we can do with Figma, and I will make a separate part. We talk a lot about Figma Make because this is the true game changer that we have in our hand right now, and we have to understand right now. Well, if we would like to talk more about AI tools, there are many of other in the market that I know that if we spend a lot of time to talk for each of them, maybe we could have tons of weeks to talk about this, but I really would like to make emphasis in that because those are our access. I really would like to make emphasis in another things. When we think about that AI is going to handle that kind of activity that maybe some repetitive of itself, we tend to think a lot of good questions that every of them are value. And the most important here is, as I mentioned, the effluent in the room. Because I was wondering if the machine are handling this crafting stage, what is left to the designer? Because if our work is based only on making this screen look good, we're in problems. But what could we do, or who would do it to enhance our professional career based on data? It is not only to, as I mentioned before, sharpen our access. Is to understand how we could be better in our daily day, and this is through competencies. What I'm referring about competencies, I'm talking about all those kind of knowledge and abilities that make you better professional and not only designer. For example, if I'm talking about critical thinking is used by product manager, designer, developer, CEO. This is something that is intrinsic in our way of working. And this is so important in this new design era, because if you only think about the tools, you can start to feel obsolete, because you have to be better for yourself and to survive on this new era. And talking about competencies, I really would like to split the competencies in two big areas. The first, the human-centric skills, that all that competencies or skills that is related to be better professional for ourselves. For example, in this new era, the empathy, the strategic thinking, and the ethical judgments will be necessary and crucial for that kind of role as a designer. Because, as I mentioned, the machine is going to handle this repetitive and manual process, and we have to think that if we would like to stand out in our environment, we need to understand us in a better way as a professional. Be really emphatic. Have a good strategic thinking is give us this superpower that the AI does give us. The another thing is the technical skills. When we think about technical skills, I really would like to make emphasis in that skills that is on trend, but is are necessary in this new era. And I will talk about prompt engineer. This is so important because this is the manner of how we execute some instruction to the AI. This is so important because it is not to say, I will say Gemini, no? Gemini, please give me this result, but if I not ask the right questions, the Gemini will give me maybe a wrong answer. and we have to understand how the AI works for ask the exact thing for to have an accurate result. This is prompt engineer. The another is the AI tool mastery. As I mentioned, the AI tools that are in the market, it's a reality right now, and we have to understand and don't be fear to try these new tools in our design process, because this is our reality. This is something that we cannot avoid in our time. We need to take advantage of that, and we need to understand that this AI tool is here for to better us professional and better us designer. And the last one, the data literacy. I really would like to make emphasize in these last competencies, because when I'm talking about data literacy, I'm talking about how we can make so critic and what the AI give us. Because AI, it's a technology that is evolving day to day. And we need to understand that it's not perfect right now. We need to be so critic and what result the AI is give us, because not everything that AI give us is true, or not is true, it is accurate that we need. And we need to be so strong in our decision and think that we understand what the AI give us and for why. This is so important, because when we think about competencies and a skill we have to develop for to keep updated in this new era, we have to think in a whole, not only in a specific of one. This is only some example that I really would like to share with you, that we need to think that this AI is going to require us a different thing of manner, of thinking, of acting, and to be different professional. Because in this AI-driven era, we need to be better with ourselves for to sharper our access. Talking about AI is something that could be complex right now because it's so extended topic. But there are many things that really excite me, because when I think about AI in the future, many things, good things could be come up on my mind. For example, I was wondering, what if the AI runs automatic accessibility audits? That is another part of our process that's tend to have a lot of issues and a lot of time. What if the AI could be handle that kind of process? Will be a really true game changers in our design process. Or what if the AI could be use these behavior patterns for to suggesting us a new way of how to address our testing, and give us idea of how we can improve our product by default, because the AI, it will be constantly looking for a new idea of how to be better our product. This is something that really exciting, and I really would like to encourage you of thinking in the future. Oh, what is the thing that AI is going to be handled? Because this is something that I have mentioned before. It is not something that is going to be happening in the future. AI is here, and we need to embrace the new challenge for don't be obsessed. Now, I really would like to share this quote that is about what we're living right now in this reality. Because as a designer, the competitive advantage that we have will no longer to be about we can design faster, but about how we can ask AI the most insightful question. Because this is something that is happening right now, and I will make emphasize in the tools that it is the market. I have mentioned it in the past. Figma, the main tool or designer, has launched one important feature in their platform that is called Figma Make. If you see the presentation, this is the interface that Figma Make has. At the left side, you can see a simple chat when you can write a prompt, and the prompt is going to be generate a good structure, a well-structured design, and you only need to put to type your right prompts, and the Figma is going to do the rest. And this is something that is going to be happened. It is not something about the future. It is something that is happening right now. And we need to understand how these tools works for to implement in our design workflow. Because maybe the Figma May right now is in beta version, but maybe let's give it a couple of months. Figma May is going to have as a big superpower that is going to be change our way of working as a designer. And we need to understand how to use these tools for don't be obsessed. I'm really encouraged to try this new feature. I have mentioned it is not perfect, but it's something that is going to lead our future as a designer. And this is something that we cannot avoid. Just to wrap up this conversation, I really would like to make emphasis in three big thoughts that I really would like to make emphasis in re-sharing with you. The first is don't be afraid with AI. AI is here. It is an amplifier and not a replacement of our job. If we think that AI is going to replace our job, it's maybe because we are acting like with basic activities that the AI is going to handle in the future. But we have to understand that this new era is come here to make us better professional, because our profession is going to be changed. It is not going to be the same in a couple of months later. This profession is going to be changing now. The second one is shift your focus. Have mentioned it. This basic task is going to be handled for the machines, for the AI. And now our value as a designer is now more than ever strategic. Empathy and leadership will be needed for this new era, because this is something that we have to admit and do about. And the third one is adopt or become obsolete. If you remember the story that I mentioned at the beginning, don't be this woodcutter that only rely on his strengths, his own strengths. Be more like this younger woodcutter who find and who looking for new access for to be more effective and more updated work. And this is something that is going to be happy with AI. We need to find new access and new tools that make us a better professional without setting aside that we need to be better as a professional with our core skills that I mentioned in that example. I really would like to grateful to everyone that is here in this talk, and encourage you to don't be fear with this new era in the AI, because AI is something that we have to embrace in our job, and we need to try to find a new way for how to implement to give us more time to be more strategic and impactful in our work. Thank you.